Okay.
I'd like to call the county board meeting to order. Would you all please rise and join with me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everybody here this morning. Mr. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Yes, I would be glad to do that. Patrick.
Yes, here.
Bruner.
Here.
Ellis.
Here.
Farnham.
Here.
Lawton.
Here.
Luddy.
Here.
Voigt.
Here. The first order of business this morning is the agenda item for the public hearing pursuant to the Bond Issue Notification Act of the State of Illinois to receive public comments regarding the intent of the board to sell general obligation sales tax alternate revenue bonds in the amount not to exceed $18 million for the purpose of acquiring land for, improving the site of, and constructing and equipping a jail facility and paying costs of other capital improvements related to public safety in and for the county. All persons desiring to be heard will have an opportunity to present written or oral testimony with respect to the proposed bonds. Are there any comments from the board? Okay, hearing none, is there any public comment concerning the proposed bonds? All persons desiring to be heard have been given an opportunity to present oral and or written testimony with respect to the issuance of the bonds. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn the hearing? Andy moves. Phil seconds. Would you, is there further discussion? Would you call the roll?
Yes, sir. Patrick.
Yes.
Bruner.
Yes.
Ellis.
Yes.
Farnham.
Yes.
Lawton.
Yes.
Luddy.
Yes.
Okay, the public hearing is closed, and thank you. The next item on the agenda is the minutes of the May 11th regular meeting and the May 23rd special meeting. Have you all had a chance to have them for a couple days? Do you have any questions or comments or corrections? Hearing none, a motion to approve the minutes is presented by the clerk. Andy moves. Dan seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. They are approved. Claims against the county. Are there any questions? I think there is one that we wanted clarification on. We had some bills for jurors dating back to 21, and we don't normally, I don't think we see, Angie, that many at one time in our deals. So I wondered if you could explain why, not that there's a problem, we just don't understand why they're all at once.
Well, formerly, when I first took office, this was how it was done. You submitted the jurors that served from, say, October through December, and then you submit claim, and each person would get a check for their service, for how many days they worked, or not worked, but served, and then for mileage. And a couple of years ago, I got the jury program from Gooden System that we use, and there's a way that I can print checks, and I did that a few times. When something's happened and I need to work with them to get it straightened out to where I can print the checks and then submit one amount for a claim. But this is the way it used to be done, so that's the way I did it, just to get them paid. Does that make sense?
That's fine. It's just something we don't remember having been familiar with, so
Right,
We
it's
thought
been a
we-
while since I've done it this way, but,
That's fine.
okay.
We're good with it. I wanted to point out there was a couple of medical bills under the sheriff's bills that will be taken and corrected and taken out of the medical fund instead of the line item in the sheriff's budget. Also see clarification, it's not a big deal, it's just bookkeeping on some of the coroner office expenses. And we've got a check to write or written to the highway department to reimburse for some of those bills. Just want to make sure we know what Peter is paying Paul and Paul's paying Peter, so, okay? Are there any other questions to the bills? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve. Lisa moves to approve, and Andy seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. They are approved. Next, we have claims by the county board. You've had those. Are there any questions? Motion to approve. Dan moves. Andy seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Now we come to the portion of the meeting for public comment. Is there any public comment? If there is, we ask that you identify yourself by name and limit your comments to 5 minutes. Anybody wish to address the board? Hearing none, we'll move on to request from HRC to modify usage of funds. And Jonathan is here. Nice to see you, Jonathan. And the floor is yours.
I did bring some information for you guys so you can get an idea of what the proposal that we're pursuing is in more detail. But essentially, we've had a heck of a time recruiting providers.
Put your papers on.
Yeah, I'm good. Essentially, we've had a heck of a time recruiting providers, and we've been, despite the efforts we've made, which have saved at least one person's employment with us and kept them there to provide services. Despite that, we've still managed to lose one provider overall. We've actually lost like 4 and gained back 3. What we plan to do and what we would like to use some of the board's money that you've already provided the HRC for is to use some of that money to pay for a contracted telehealth service. So the way that looks on our end, how it benefits the community is we have, it's down to 333 people, but that's still a huge waiting list, down from 500. But we're down to 333 people that we're still unable to reach because of capacity. There's this company in Novotel that will contract us a therapist, but only for telehealth. The advantages of going through them is obviously the subcontract benefits, but also the fact that they're able to manage employment laws in multiple different states. That's what they do, is kind of that piece. And licensure. Previously, this wasn't an option to us until COVID because there were laws about providing telehealth across state lines. So since then, they've been developing these systems to where we can provide it. Our first plan is to use this person to provide telehealth services directly to the client in their home. But should the laws change or should our consumer base change to where they're not comfortable with that, then we would just set them up we would just use an office. And I've talked to other providers that use Novotel. Rosecrans, the CEO of Rosecrans, which is one of the biggest substance use providers here in Illinois, they use them. And I talked to a guy out of Kansas who's about the same size organization as HRC, who also uses them with success. So this person should be able to remove about 80 people off the wait list. And then, let's see, about 80 people from the wait list. We have them for 2 years. We have a 30-day cancellation, so we're not committed for life. It will cost HRC a lot of money. I think the total totals $332,000 for the course of 2 years. HRC is going to move forward with it because the community needs it. What I'm asking is that the board authorize us to be able to use some of the funds meant for providing additional services for this, because it was not part of the original proposal.
Are you looking at $300,000 being your upfront cost, or is this after?
That's our
making-
total. That's not after reimbursements. So I expect the reimbursements to carry about 200,000 at least.
Okay. So then you're looking at 100,000 over 2 years, which is 50,000 a year, which seems much more palatable when you look at it.
And I
that
think we
way.
can do better. It's a matter of payer mix though. You know, I mean, the majority of people we receive through our front door have Medicaid, but we also get a huge amount of private insurance. So depending on the payer mix that we get basically coming in the door, what insurance providers people have, we could make money or we could lose money, because Medicaid's not going to break even. Medicaid, we would lose money on straight Medicaid. This person is credentialed to be able to provide services to private insurance, to Medicare, so they'd be able to serve anyone that we see.
So the way I take it, you're not asking for additional money, just the money we've already gave you, you just want to use it to pay for that versus an in-house person, basically.
Yeah, instead of, because we're running behind on the funds,
Right.
so we because of the lack of providers to actually pay for these things, and because we're only able to recruit a half-time person for the trainer position, the internship. So because of those things, we have extra funds that I'd like to use for those. And so yes, I'm not asking for any additional funds.
You have a person in mind for the position?
We don't. They are supposed to provide us with a few names and CVs, curriculum vitae, resumes. They're supposed to provide us with those in the immediate future, actually this week, I believe. And then we will vet them. So we will actually interview them and decide whether or not they fit. And then when they do provide services, they'll be provided under HRC's umbrella. For all intents and purposes, people won't really know where they're at, that they're not sitting here. That frees up our other therapists then to be able to reach those that don't want the telehealth.
Don't see a problem with it.
We want to just do a motion to encompass all this, just so it's on the record. So is there a motion to accept the changes in the funding?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Carl moves and Dan seconds. All, there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you for your clarifications and good luck.
Thank you for the
You're welcome.
consideration, permission.
Okay. The next item is authorized expenditure for summer meals program. Lisa, do you kind of want to sum up where we're at?
Yes, latest information from Hopes and Dreams is that, as they shared with us at the study session, they had 29 youth signed up for the bus service that would then bring them to the Hopes and Dreams facility for lunch. And on Facebook post this morning, they shared that they'd only served 5 meals so far from that effort. And so they were putting the word out. And so obviously for us as well as for them, that's a big concern and a disappointment. And when they spoke to us on Monday, they felt like they had pretty adequately shared the information in the appropriate venues and to the appropriate audiences. So I don't know how much of this is because they weren't able to publicize it early, or whether it's the audience. I don't have that knowledge, but just that they expressed frustration, and so then we're frustrated as well.
So our buses go pick them up, bring them to the facility where they eat, then we take them back.
Yeah.
That's our sole, and we're only picking up 5 kids.
No, the rec
But there
center
was
is.
supposed to be 80 at the rec.
So there were 80 at the rec, and then there were another 29 that were supposed to be eating at Hopes and Dreams. And so the meals are prepared, and then there's nobody.
Well, that's a waste.
It's very frustrating.
Yes, it is. I just don't think it's advertised well. That's,
But we don't know whether it's advertised well to the correct audience.
Right.
We didn't necessarily see much advertising, but we weren't the audience.
Well, I can
So-
tell you, the bus thing's gonna cost you the same amount whether there's anybody on it or not, so when they ask me what we ought to charge, that's of course their business. But, having to do that stuff all the time, I don't know, that's something wrong here. I know when we used to deliver the meals, then it went over lots better, but.
Right.
Is it
And we can't
150
do
or
that.
250?
250.
Right.
250
last year, yeah.
last year when they were delivered to the
Yeah,
house.
I know that's a pain, but we also had a lot of kids that jumped in there and worked out pretty well.
17.
What time does the bus leave to pick them up? I mean, what time? If
The
they're-
first bus leaves Highland Court at 10:15.
Well, that's not too
So it
early.
goes 10:15, Highland Court, second one's Court Street, Needs Avenue, the third one is Main Street, fourth is Super 8, fifth is Central and Blackburn, then Sunset Park, then Wentz Playground.
Yeah, I was
So they-
thinking,
It's sort of-
not too early.
They've got to get to those locations, correct?
Well, it's just saying when we pick them up before school, there's half dozen locations where the kids central on our bus will pick them up right there. We don't pick them up at home or anything.
So this is
Works
not
out.
new to them, this shouldn't
Oh,
be
no,
anything different?
no, kids,
Yeah.
they,
So
some of them,
this, the locations are not the issue.
No.
not
right.
really. The locations for pickup for high school are different, but there's fewer locations to pick up, but there are more here, but they're all pretty obvious center locations for those areas, I think. So I don't think that could be your reason.
How did they sign that, do you know?
It's nothing.
No, I don't.
Because you said you had 29 signups and 5 pickups, so I'm curious, I mean, do they get on Facebook and sign up? You know.
Information was sent home within the school. They said they had flyers distributed, which I don't come
Sent
down
it
here and
home
have to
with
see
the
where the
kids, did
flyers
they?
are.
Send them home with the kids, did they? That always works well.
And
Doesn't really make
then
it
they
hard.
did post on, that they had advertised on Facebook.
I don't get it.
But again, I don't know whether it's the timing was just so late.
Could
Or-
be.
or
Well,
whether it's commitment.
It did take a while before we got to the end of it. That could be a part of it.
Which
Well,
was
if we
by no
could
means
have
Hopes and Dreams'
something
fault.
reported back to us at the next study
So one of our
session.
drivers had nobody on their bus, a day or so ago. And he's sitting there waiting, no kids show up for a free meal. That's really sad.
Yes, it is, because you know they're out there.
Absolutely.
Well,
So,
spend the money for food, too. What are you gonna do with the food?
Right, I don't know what they
they won't
did.
eat so much. Chicken noodles.
Cargo and a lot
Well,
of
what's your
chicken.
pleasure? Because regardless of that fact, we pledge to help them. Maybe they can recover or make improvements
Right.
to the
I think they'll
advertising.
figure it out.
Yeah.
Must be some adjustment, whatever. They'll figure it out.
It's only the first week, so like I say, wait, see what happens in a week or two. and go
I've
from there.
delivered those meals to kids, it takes a couple hours to do it, and I drive right back by there a couple hours later, and still sitting there on their porch. I mean, you just don't know what some families, they don't have anything, well, what the heck?
Yeah.
I don't.
Sounds like the problem is the state making it to where we can't
Right.
deliver the
Right,
meals.
right.
That's the problem.
That's a big issue right there.
I agree. We knew it was gonna be an issue from the get-go.
Well, I'm sure you get into like up in Chicago or some areas where somebody takes the meal, sells it for half price, and they go on and say, hey, we got rid of all of them.
But to
I don't know.
mandate it and not give you an option,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I mean, in larger cities, fine, that's
Right.
whatever works, but
Right.
we should have the flexibility in Clark or Edgar or Macon County to do what works best for our communities,
Correct.
to be effective.
I think Carl's point probably is.
Well, we had discussed $10,000 reimbursement up to 10. How do you feel about that still?
Honest, I don't think we should change, I think.
Right.
I agree.
Let's give them a chance to work it
Yeah,
out.
I think
see
things
what
will
they can do.
develop a little better, hopefully.
Is
They'll
that a
figure it out.
motion, Phil? Is that a motion to approve?
Absolutely.
Okay. In a second, Dan seconds. And so further discussion. I didn't mean to cut off. I just wanted to know how you felt about the thing. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. It does carry.
Shane.
Maybe we'll have an update here at the next study session. Okay, next is a resolution to renew special events liquor license for Castle Finn Winery, or Vineyard and Winery effective July 1st through November 30th, 22. And Augie explained to us that that kind of catches up, so all of the license we issue are all at the same time. Is there a motion to approve that resolution? Dan moves. Carl seconds. Would you call the roll?
Patrick,
Yes.
Bruner,
Yes.
Ellis.
Yes.
Farnum,
Yes.
Lawton,
Yes.
Luddy.
Yes.
Can you, here, we've got an issue here. We need to strike
Oh,
uh,
okay, that's right.
Andy's vote.
Abstain.
Yeah, you shouldn't even be in the room, so that's it's on me, I'm sorry.
You wasn't very loud in
It is approved.
I was thinking.
Okay, next reappoint Roger Stanley and Susan Saxton to Board of Review with terms expiring May 31st, 2024. Motion to approve, Phil moves. Carl seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Then they are reappointed. Accept resignation of John McNary from the Board of Health effective June 1st, 2022. And we would like to say that we appreciate his service in all aspects, but including the Board of Health, because he has been very active in our community for a number of years, and we
Well,
appreciate
I
it.
wanna make that motion with extreme regret.
Okay,
You want an update on his,
what?
want an update on how he's doing, or?
I don't think we should. I mean,
I just wondered.
I don't think that's
I don't think so,
appropriate
I
with,
just wonder something.
but we wish him well.
Okay.
So Phil moves
Yes, second.
I'll second.
and Dan seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Next, to reappoint Kay Fiddler, Bob Morris, and Diana Yates to the 708 Board with terms expiring June 1st, 2026. Any questions about that? They're currently board members, and I was contacted by the president, and so,
Let you know, second.
anybody wish to make that motion? Carl moves.
Say,
Bill seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, sheriffs, you've got a semi-annual report from the sheriff. Any questions about that we can direct to the sheriff? Hearing none, a motion to accept the semi-annual report presented by or submitted by the sheriff. Motion, please. Andy moves. Russ, you haven't jumped in there yet, are you? Russ seconds.
There you go, Russ.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. It is accepted. Next, Augie has his county clerk and recorder semi-annual report. Augie?
You have your semi-annual report. It's supposed to be funny, I'm sorry.
That's one heck of a presentation.
And, no, it's fairly steady, so there's really nothing remarkable to point out. With the small exception, early first part of this year, we instituted the online, or official records online program. So now anybody that's wishing to receive a vital record of theirs, they can go on our website, click on a link, and then fill out some information, and they can do a lot of the paperwork ahead of time online. And then, so when they come in, their birth certificate, their death certificate, their marriage certificate is already waiting on them, and it's all done, paid for. So it's not a lot of money, but every little bit helps, and it makes it more convenient for the people of Edgar County.
Any questions? Motion to accept his report. Lisa moves, Andy seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Now we come to the officer department head reports. Augie?
Really, the only thing I have is early voting is going on, and as of last night, we have had 154 voters. I would say that's just average for a primary. We're back at full staff. As I mentioned, Monday was sort of brutal, or May was. We had someone out due to surgery. We had a couple people out with COVID for a week. We had one of the staff members was on bereavement leave, and so plus we started early voting, and it's just a pretty busy month. But we're back to full staffing, and everything appears to be going well. Questions for me?
Thank you, Augie. Do you have anything for the highway department, Josh? Adam?
I didn't mention Monday, but all your AEDs have been allocated out to the offices you wanted them to. This past couple of weeks, we've done some CPR AED training with Sheriff's Department and Paris PD. I believe there's still a stack of AEDs sitting over in the Sheriff's office that have not been dispersed. I have no control over that, so. But you guys may want to look into that and make sure those are allocated where they're supposed to be. But other than that, we've got our first responder program going on right now. I think we've got 12 on that, so I'll put some more first responders in the community once we're done. We'll have 2 more EMT classes starting up in the fall. Nothing else on the EMS side.
These AEDs, are those supposed to be in squad cars?
I'd say the sheriff's department got 13 of them. Some of them may be out and about. I honestly don't know where.
So there's several of them.
Yeah, they have 13. They're supposed to go between the squad cars and the courthouse, and I couldn't tell you the status of those at the moment.
Okay.
We appreciate the update and the concern. Okay, we will look into it.
May I ask Adam a question?
Sure.
Yeah,
Do we have our new one here installed in the courthouse?
not that I'm aware of. I believe that's one of them that's still sitting over there.
Jonathan, do you have anything else to add to what you've already reported to us?
Yes, I would like to add, HRC is starting a new program for youth. It is available to anybody who has a disability who's 13 to 21 years old. It's called the Schools Out program. We're operating it out of Lake Ridge Christian Church and largely the community as a whole. There's an HRC Community Day Services Facebook page where you can see the types of activities that they're doing, or that they will be doing, because it will be very similar to our day program. And I don't know if you've noticed, or if you're a Facebook person and you've seen it, our people with disabilities are everywhere all the time now. They're not in the building. They are participating in the community activities that the program's intended to do. So I'm very proud of the program and the accomplishments they've made there. People that qualify for this new Schools Out program Basically, they have to have proof of a disability, so if they have an IEP at school, then they probably qualify. In fact, that's usually the documentation we would use to prove that they qualify. This will be 6 hours a day, Monday through Wednesday, and an 8-hour day on Thursday. On Thursday, we're going to take longer outings, like to zoos and stuff like that, a little more distance. So hence the longer day. They will also be open when school's closed, so winter break time and stuff like that. The big thing is people that have disabilities, when you turn 13, you lose your state daycare vouchers. You may or may not be able to actually stay home alone at that point, depending on how your disability affects you. And so there's a real need for that population. People can private pay for $150 a week, but we have scholarships already. We have a couple scholarships available for Edgar County. We have, I think, 4 left for Clark County from donors to pay for their summer. So pending people are unable to pay, they can attend that way. And then come July 1st, we have a grant to fund it. So we successfully got funding so that people wouldn't have to private pay. So anyone with disability starting July 1st, 13 to 22 or 21, 22, they would be out that could participate for free. So please let people know about it, and people you know who have kids with disabilities, because it can be really exhausting to take care of somebody constantly for a long period of time.
Kelly, did you
I
have?
did have a question on that. So you said anyone with an IEP qualifies, so refresh my memory on Illinois, so kids in the alternative schools, do they have IEPs and do they qualify?
I believe so, typically. Yeah.
Okay, so like Josh Hollis's program and.
I'm not.
So if they're in the alternative school,
Mhm.
they have an IEP, that means they're qualified to.
They should be. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. Any questions of Jonathan about that?
Jonathan, since I didn't get to come to your last meeting, and I know that 708 board changed officers, could you address that?
Yes, Nate Alexander became the 708 chairperson. I assume that was approved. No, it was approved at the 708 meeting, sorry.
Yes, it was.
Nate Alexander is now the chair, and Alan Zuber is the vice chair, and Bob Morris remains the treasurer.
Diana or Kay, secretary?
I think Diana
Renee?
Yates is the secretary, remains secretary. I'm a little iffy on that last one.
There was some discussion at the regional meeting I was at Monday, so I missed our meeting. There's a chance that board's gonna be done away with, or there too, but I don't know, nobody knows for sure.
708 board?
Yeah, I don't know what the deal was, they didn't really understand, there wasn't a lot of discussion about it, that was mentioned. Remember Zuber's on the board,
He didn't mention it to me. I've seen him twice the last week.
thought it was kinda odd myself, probably not.
Would you superintendent have something to do with that?
He does.
Well,
Thought,
I'm sure that the 708 board would inform us of any issues.
Yeah, if this ever happens, it's gonna be way down the line.
Right. I'd like to circle around and let you know in your package you've got the Northern Edgar County Ambulance Service sheet, just to make sure that you know it was there, okay? Angie?
I don't have anything else to report today. Do you have any other questions for me?
Okay. Scott?
Coroner's office side, we're moved in the new building, so, everything's out of the hospital. I think everything's been turned in, so that's done. I think there's only a couple things left of the new building, propane tank or something,
Right.
nothing that's holding us up by any means, but yeah, moved in, and thankful for the space, and it meets every need I could ever hope for. And just the room, the garage room is, just wonderful. So thank you. I mean, I do mean that. And I do. Can I get a demand check for stuff I had to buy? Do I just have to see you?
Yeah, just
Okay.
see me and submit it to Augie.
Okay. Housing Authority side, couple things. One, the roof, we signed a contract to replace the roof. We're waiting on the company, that we went with is having trouble obtaining some sort of a fastener. So, like everything else in the world, whenever that arrives, we'll have a new roof. So sometime between now and this time next year. We do have three, we have our board is 5 members. It's 3, terms come up at once, and then the other 2 are staggered. We do have 3 of them that are coming up August 1st. Donna Veeder, which I've given this to Augie, so I think it's gonna be on next month's meeting. Donna Veeder and David Wright would both like to be reappointed. And those are 4-year terms. Betty McCoskey is the last one. At the end of this term, she wants to retire. So that'll be something you guys are gonna have to be prepared for the August, reappoint, or to appoint somebody for a 4-year term to replace Betty. She's done it for, gosh, I think over 20 years, so. And if you have any questions on that, I'll, answer them, but.
Those 3 be staggered maybe, or?
Those 3 are, theirs is up August 1st of 2022, and then the other 2 are up, August 1st of 2024. So it just balances, 3 of them, 2 of them. But other than that, I think that's really about it. So just know that that'll be coming down the pipeline, and we'll need to replace her with somebody.
Questions? Thank you, Scott. Jill?
Okay, I got my cheat sheet here from last night. We had our final mitigation meeting. We had a total of 18 jurisdictions participate, putting mitigation projects into our new hazard mitigation plan. There's a draft copy online. Ross put it on the homepage or whatever of the website. And if not, I have a hard copy here if anybody wants to look at it. So we have the public forum last night, nobody showed up. It's open for 2 weeks. That'll close June 21st. After that, Andrea from American Environmental, who did our project, got an expedited review from FEMA. So she was hoping with everything by the end of summer, we should have a approved hazard mitigation plan. After that, out of the 18 jurisdictions, everyone will have to basically pass a resolution in order to be able to obtain grant money or things when it comes available. So you guys would have to adopt it, like Village of Redmond, school districts, etc. Would have to adopt it, so.
That'll come before us when they've approved.
Yes, and then one other thing, after the plan is adopted, so this 2-week period, any of the jurisdictions can take away projects or add projects, but then Andrea told me last night, after the project, or the plan is adopted, you can add new projects to, I guess, to the plan. So, that's something good, I mean, moving forward with construction and things like that, in that next, and it's good for, the plan will be good for 5 years once it's adopted.
Any questions? Okay.
Does anybody wanna look at this or just online or? Okay.
You have it available at your office?
Yes, it's at my office,
Right.
yes, I have 2 copies of at my office right now.
Kelly, did you have anything for us this morning?
Well, I still need to talk to, thank you for the acknowledgement. I still need to talk to somebody, maybe you perhaps, about getting an advanced school to see what's in there. I was also gonna say on the neighborhood watch front that, probably not the person to speak directly, but Bob Sinclair is the leader of that. My understanding is that he's coordinating with Terry Rogers to, like in Champaign County, have kind of like some registered cameras, so the police department can utilize those as well. That's my understanding. I don't know the details on that, on anything on the details, probably needs to be talked to Bob Sinclair or Terry Rogers. I know it's modeled after the same program in Champaign County. And are you the person that I need to speak to?
What's that have to do with Vance? I'm just curious.
Well, of course, we don't own the property. People on Danville.
They called me.
They want.
Yeah, I've been trying to get them together.
Okay,
It's-
people from Danville, owners of the
Yes.
property.
Right,
They had
So
called me
you need to get them together, okay?
right.
and said that someone, Josh, somebody, had the
Right there.
cameras. So I've narrowed it down.
Yeah.
Okay, and for the first time, I'd like to present our new state's attorney, Tim Gilbert. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
Well, I mean, mostly right now, we are finding ourselves down one assistant state's attorney for some reason. But we've got an ad that Ross helped us post on the county's website. That's also cross-linked to Facebook and LinkedIn. The Illinois State Appellate Prosecutors also have a website where they posted that job posting, and I'm working and getting a lot of help actually from SIU and U of I. They are collecting resumes for me from their students, and they've emailed their alumni. In mid-July, they said they're going to send those to me. So I'm hopeful on that front that we'll have some good candidates coming our way as soon as possible.
There's a lot of work on you in the meantime.
It does, yes. Yes. I told them as soon as possible.
Did I miss any? Oh, I've got.
Jeff?
Yes.
I would just like to compliment Tim. I had a legal question. Obviously, it was important, or I wouldn't have bothered him with it. And the turnaround time for the response was just overnight. And so, Tim, thank you very much for your prompt response. I know you are covered up, but I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. We'll move on to committee reports. Dan,
I
you-
love
Andy?
You're doing fine.
No, we're just waiting, I guess the okay has been given at the jail to put cameras in. We're just kind of waiting on some of the welding to get that over that.
Do you want to tell them about the grants was approved and they're going to start measuring next week?
Oh,
And
yeah.
who we're going to have coordinate with them? Who's
Yeah.
going to be our lead on that?
How much was the grant, did it end up being?
250,000?
250,000 to relocate the HVAC off of the portico roofs and put them down on the ground. When they're up there on the roofs, if you get roof problems, you can't do anything because they're covered up, so put them on the ground, redo some of the roofs, and money was, what do you call, allocated? Allocated, so we can start that project.
The agreement with the state has been executed, so all the hurdles are over.
And that's, you said that is we do it and then.
We'll be reimbursed.
We'll
As
be
they invoice
reimbursed.
us, I will forward them on to the state for reimbursement,
Okay. So that'll start,
up to the 250,000.
yeah.
Carl, did you have some?
Did we have someone lined up to do that?
Sycamore.
Oh, yeah, they've already got everything on order.
They've got
Okay.
that now.
That was because, we talked about
June
that
1st.
last week or
Yeah,
whenever it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
And they needed the go-ahead before the price increases.
Yes.
That was the issue. Did you want to say anything about where we're at on bidding the roof and so forth?
We've got plans back. They're looking at trying to locate contractors, and I think they've
They've-
located one contractor.
right.
So we're moving along,
Getting cost
getting
estimates.
cost estimates. We still don't have a firm estimate of what they think it'll be, but
It's weeks. Michaela and I talked after you and I, we talked the other day. She called me and we talked for about a half an hour about different projects. I kind of gave her an idea where we were at on everything. But I said that we really needed to get that cost estimate in relatively soon so that we can get on track to get the final drawings for the bid and then get it awarded yet this year so that we can move on.
hopefully construction next year.
Right.
So
I mean, if it comes in, we're, you know,
where we can afford to do it, yes.
yeah, and then remember, they're gonna do alternate bids so that we'll, on original and what would you call
Whether
it,
or not we wanna
fake
go back with
original.
the same
Right.
products that we've got, reuse some for Slade, or whether you wanna use,
Or
there's-
fabricated.
yeah, there's 2 or 3 different materials that they could use,
Right.
and that'll depend on what the bids come in at.
Do we wanna fill everybody in on what we did yesterday at this time? Andy and Carl,
On the what?
Start the first meeting.
As far as,
Coke Building and,
well, yeah, okay. We did go through, looked at the Coke building. As far as the building use, it's not in really great shape. But as far as property, it does have access to both Main and Central, which is a plus. There is also 3-phase electric service at that building, which would be advantageous for use at the jail. So, but as far as using that building, I think we pretty much decided that I think the cost would exceed what the value of that building is.
yeah, it's a shame.
It is. It was kind of a neat old Art Deco type building, as I recall when I was younger, but it's just not been maintained correctly to the point that it's worth saving at this point, so.
Also, it gives us an opportunity for future expansion and flexibility in laying out what we're gonna do up there, if that's our eventual site, right?
Right. And you've also got to think about, well, if you got a new jail sitting there and you didn't get that property next to it, what's gonna end up there? So, and we've also looked at the house there that would actually kind of square up the whole property. So I don't know where you are, status of obtaining, you know, we both we've decided that we think we're interested in both those properties. If we can come to terms on them,
And that's
Do
what
so.
Josh and I talked about that this morning based upon what we all talked about yesterday. We're gonna do a little bit, we're gonna do some more with asbestos, and we're gonna try to nail down some costs and get a proposal or two out so that we can zero in on what we're gonna do, okay? Phil, do you have anything? Russ? Carl?
Yesterday afternoon, we met with the architect and,
Both of them.
what's the other guy?
Yeah, he's an architect too, the jail architect.
Sean.
Sean.
The guy, he's designing things, and they had another set of plans, tweaking things a little bit, and we talked about that. And what did we talk about? Well, yeah, a lot of things. But, you know, we're narrowing it down, cost estimates, you know, just getting everything together, you know, the costs and trying to figure out, you know, with these bonds, you know, what all the costs could be. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty with interest rates, uncertainty with building costs, what the future might be for that, you know, how everything else is currently. We also talked about the possibility of an office building We talked about different sites. One of the sites was across from the jail. They think there might be some issues, you know, as far as putting an office building across from the jail on that property that we currently own. Possible environmental issues, possibility of what's in the ground. You know, as far as a lot of the some of the building was put down in the ground, so the building on top of that might be an issue. So, you know, we got, I think his recommendation currently, based on the information we have now, is not to build across from the jail. You know, that could change. We're looking at the possibility of, you know, if everything works out, if we have to put a new office building up, maybe at the Vance site. I know in all the discussions, you know, we wanted to utilize the Vance school. But last figure I heard was like $5 million to renovate that. And that's not feasible. When, you know, we talked about on an office building that we would need, you know, the space, just off the top of his head, based on some little information that he's gathered, 1.5 to 2.2 million for an office building. So, you know, versus 5 million to renovate Vance School, that's no brainer. So, you know, that's just gathering information, you know, so at some point, depending on how things go, you know, at some point we might have to make a decision. I think they're gonna, what, a month from now or so, get back with us.
Yeah, the first of July, they will have a lot of the issues resolved and be able to make a recommendation on site selection. And then we go from there as we can put out an RFQ for the final design and narrow down and bore into the cost estimates. And this is just for the jail at this point, okay? You know, we gotta take it a step at a time.
But, you know, one thing we gotta keep in mind, you know, what this roof's gonna cost for this, you know.
That's why it's critical that we get that information too.
There's a lot of things going on and whether there's enough money to go around.
Well, I'm sure that we'll be looking at some Plan Bs on some of the issues. And just to reiterate, the point of all this is to build a new jail. You know, obviously the court system and offices are critical, but the whole point was to build a new jail at this point. Carl, is that it?
That's it.
Lisa?
Attended my first Edgar County Public Health Department board meeting this last month, along with Scott Ingram and Allison Williams, the other two new appointees. It was a productive meeting that was well attended by board members. And that's it for me.
And we do have somebody that we're gonna recommend to the board at the next meeting to take John McNary's place.
Right.
To finish out his term. And Lisa has vetted that person, correct? And I think we've discussed her off and on from time to time.
Just question I know, I think.
So we'll have a name to make public next month.
And I have informed Ollie and Janet about that also, so there's communication.
They did have the opportunity to also provide names for us to consider, and we didn't receive any, so we moved forward.
Well, you did good.
Have you told the board about your meeting over at,
Champaign County?
yeah, you did, didn't you? I'm sorry.
I attended the Champaign County zoning board meeting a couple of weeks ago at the request of someone. And I shared, you know, I've spoken to different counties about for wind turbine ordinances and updated ordinances. And so I basically shared our process, what we learned during our public hearings, and what we arrived at and why for our ordinance. And I got a lot of questions, and the zoning board, they have another board to go through before it goes to their county board, land use board. And so the zoning board recommended to the land use board 39 decibel and 3,250 feet, which matches ours. So I don't know that it's gonna stay that way, but they did respect our information and how we arrived at it.
And you're going to be working on, I got in my report that you're gonna be working on some updates to both solar and wind.
Right. And I'll be working with Wyatt from Farm Bureau. He and I had a nice conversation after the ESDA meeting, because Wyatt, through communicating with his Farm Bureau contacts, hears information, and sometimes there's language that would be helpful. And so I'll be working with him, plus taking a look at a couple of other ordinances to see if there's some language there that would make our ordinances more clear.
Any questions from Lisa? Okay, I'm gonna start off with financial. You all got your spreadsheet on the different accounts. I'd like you to notice that the top hasn't been that way for a while, but we're at a negative $460,000. But that's because we transferred the public safety tax all the way down to 859. And then adjusted last year. So the auditors thought it'd be better, and so did Chapman and Cutler, to identify exactly where the safety tax money is. And then we can transfer it where it needs to go or pay bills out of there. So you can see that 859 has $667,000 in it. Please note that the one above it, 858, we received the 1.666 million, so now we have 2.8 in there, plus not change, but a little over that. And Don is exploring the possibilities of putting a bulk of that money in investments, CDs, not the stock market, CDs. And so we've already got, I believe, 500K in CDs, so, and that's included in the 858. I would also note, as far as cash flow, and you're looking at that 460, we have, even though we've got half a year done, we've only collected revenue for 3 months on all of our state issues, which is normal because we on an accrual basis. And we also have not collected any property tax for the first 6 months of the year. And so you can surmise that that would give us about an additional $1.4 million. So you can see we'd actually be about $1 million to the good. So I just wanted to make that clear. When you do the accrual, it's when it actually happens. And you know, if we don't get $1 until after the first of next year, it still counts back on this, the year that we were promised or were committed to either spend or get it as a revenue. So I'm sure that's clear as mud, but we're in fine shape. Some of the upcoming things we're going to be needing to deal with is the personnel policy. We've got a couple of loose ends hanging out there in the vacation area to make sure that we're consistent and everybody's on the same page. Once we have that, we'll get you a final copy so that you can start reviewing it. We also need to revisit the COVID policy. Augie reminded me that we said that we'd take it through June 30th, so we need to look at that in July to make sure that what we want to do. So I'd like you to be thinking about that. We have site selection coming up in the month of of July, if we want to act on that. We have the bonds to start thinking about. The issuance can take place anytime after June 30th. I mean, it's not quite that simple. I mean, we just don't come in here and say, boom. But Chapman and Cutler will prepare any documents that we feel comfortable in executing. Then we've got some issues on funding that I've talked to Eric about and I've talked to Delina about. We also found out yesterday late that the bond rates dropped by 40 basis points, or almost 0.5%. So that was good news. I don't, you know, when you're talking about a 4.3% rate and it drops 40 basis points, that's a pretty large percentage of that 4.3. But there's no guarantee it's going to head that way or not reverse. So at any rate, that's what we're looking at right now. And we're getting some clarification on bonding that we got on the sheets from them. When was that? A couple of meetings ago. Because right now it shows like 1.1 million for $16,500,000 issue, which is, it's not doable. Don't be discouraged. I mean, we've got a cost estimate right now roughly at 14.1, 14.3 for the jail. If you drop it down, the bond issue now, which you can still expand to it later, we'd be talking, you know, substantially less than 1.1. In fact, it'd be around $900,000. So that's certainly a lot of money, but more palatable. Let's see. I also was looking at, with Eric, why it said 18 years on the 10 and not 30. He did indicate that he couldn't remember why he did that, but 30 was possible. So those are decisions we're going to have to make, and I just want to make sure that you're aware of it. Let's see, bond issue. We need to start looking at acquisitions if we make a site selection and how we're going to time those, because if we're going to purchase certain lands, we need to give folks time to move and relocate and make sure that we treat anybody that we're going to acquire as a willing seller. By the way, we're not looking at doing anything but willing sellers at this point. And I think everybody's on board with that. But we need to treat everybody well. Let's see, I think those are the main things that are coming up, but that's a lot. So, and of course the roof is something where hopefully we'll have, and I pressed upon Michaela yesterday that we needed stuff rather rapidly.
Didn't he say by the end of June or at the latest, the first of July?
Right, and she's the one that's doing it.
Okay.
Well, part of her staff. So I said, you know, I know Michael's talked to you, but we really want you to understand that that's a critical decision along with some of the other environmental issues that we've got coming from Michael. So it's all got to kind of converge so we can make some decisions. I mean, not be stampeded into it, but make timely decisions. We need to recognize that the interest rate is only, the commitment we have is only good for the month of July. So we need to address that. So at any rate, those are the things, not to concern you, but to be, you know, diligent in how we think about it and form some opinions. And we'll get you as much information as we can as we go along. Hopefully we'll have something by the next study session on a few things. Okay? Do you have any questions on me? Okay, is there anything else to come before the meeting this morning? Is there any need for a closed session? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Andy moves, Russ seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.
No, I didn't do